Someday we'll find it. The rainbow connection. The lovers, the dreamers, and me. All right, this is bullshit. Where are my cigarettes? We ready to start this podcast?
Hey guys, welcome to another show of User Friendly. My name is Roberto Hoyos. I am the owner of Throwboy, and I'm here with Erfan Elijah.
My name is Erfan Elijah. I am a contributing writer for Cult of Mac, and I'm also the founder and owner of the cool indie Seattle clothing brand MyTees.com. Are you ready for another most excellent episode of User Friendly? I'm glad you got that.
Yes, I am. And yeah, for those that have just started watching User Friendly, which is episode 2.
Which is probably everybody watching.
User Friendly does what?
We are a weekly tech podcast, and we cover all things geek, things that we love on the web, and our favorite tech stories of the week.
Yes, yes. And we have been getting a great response from you guys. A lot of you guys have told us what you think. We've been getting new views, new viewers, commenting. We've kind of spread it around our mutual networks, Mike T's, Throwboy. And so yeah, thank you all that have been watching and commenting and telling us what you think. Please keep all that coming. We have a Gmail account if you guys want to email us. It's userfriendlyshow@gmail.com. And what else, man?
We've got several ways you could watch the show, so we've kind of been experimenting. We're on iTunes, of course. If you search for User Friendly Show, we'll be one of the podcasts that come up. We have a video podcast, of course, that you're watching, but soon we should also have an audio podcast if you just want to listen. And we're also at blip.tv/User Friendly Show.
Just User Friendly.
Just User Friendly, okay. And we're on Vidler now.
Yeah, and we're experimenting with Vidler too. Vidler just came out with a new version, which is actually super nice. And we're just Vidler, viddler.com/user-friendly. And our first show is on there, and it also has markers to each story.
Oh,
which is kind of fun. So
nifty.
if you guys want to jump to a certain story, we have that available.
Now, can you also comment on the Vidler videos?
Yes, you can, and you can even leave comments within the video.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
You can also do that on our blip.tv page. You can sign in with your Twitter account, your Facebook account, whatever you want, and leave comments right under the video. Right. And we do read the comments, so if you happen to do that, we usually reply.
And we're going to be on YouTube, I think, pretty soon. We're going to try it out. We're not totally sure what the YouTube guidelines are for long
And our show's
videos.
kind of long, yeah.
So it will be youtube.com/user-friendly-show. And so you can check us out there too.
Fantastic. Let's jump right into the show, shall we? We have 3 things we're going to talk about today. We scoured the web for our favorite stories of the week. The first one I wanted to talk about is a website, and it's called Pinterest.com. You may have heard of Pinterest. It's been getting a lot of buzz recently, which is weird because it's been around, I think, for at least 8 or 9 months, and I actually started using it a while ago. And now all of a sudden everyone's talking about it. Well, it just won a Crunchy, the TechCrunch Awards, and it won Best New Startup. So I guess it must be less than a year old. I thought it was older than that. So what is Pinterest? Pinterest is a really interesting kind of social website, and what it allows you to do is share photos. Well, that's nothing new, right? You can share photos on Flickr and everything else. But it makes it really super easy to take a photo, put it into your account, and then other people can comment on it, like it, and then they can also share it in their accounts. Okay. It's based around the idea of boards. So when you log into your page, you see a bunch of squares, and when you scroll down, it's just squares, 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 and it's just all images that people have put into their boards. And boards are basically ways of categorizing images. So I've got like 8 boards. And I have one called Products I Love. I have one called Erfan Elijah Photography. I have one called Photos I Heart. So when I take an image on the web, I can put it into one of those boards. And then my followers can either follow just one board that I produce, or they can follow all my boards. So once I post something, it shows up in their account.
Okay.
And at that point, they can either click like, they can comment on it, or they can repin it into one of their boards.
Okay.
So it's very viral. So like
it's sort of Tumblr-esque.
It's very Tumblr-esque, except it's way easier to use than Tumblr. And in a Tumblr account, you go to one person's account, and actually you have your feed, right? And then you're scrolling through, you can see what everyone's been doing in your Tumblr feed, your dashboard. Pinterest is similar to that, except the feeds are much smaller. So you can see like, you could scroll down and you can see like 100, 200 things.
From different people's stuff.
From all these different people's stuff and different categories those people have, right? Because they all have their boards. So
interesting.
If I wanted to follow just your photography board, because I'm interested in photography, then I can see all the things that you pin. It's super viral. I've really started using it a lot, especially because I have a photography business. So it really helps me get exposure to my images because the users are really active. Like before I even started using Pinterest pretty regularly, I was probably only using it once a month. I had like 80 followers.
Really?
And these were people that I knew.
Does this go out to like your Facebook and your Twitter or whatever?
It does, yes. They integrate very tightly with Facebook. They integrate very tightly with Twitter. But the weird thing is like, how are they getting people to be so active, right? Because I have friends who were viewing my account, and I don't even know how my friends found me. So they're following me, and I don't even use it. So now that I use it, it's only accelerated that process.
I wonder if it's, did you have a sign-in with your Facebook? Even if you didn't, they can still find you through there.
I'm not sure I did, but I connected my Facebook account.
That's cool, man. Like I was actually the one that asked you about this because I've only heard like just now sort of more buzz about it, but I don't really know what it was. So I was like, can you explain this? You know, because yeah, I didn't know that it was like that at all. So do things kind of break on there like the way that they do on blogs? Do things
like, how do you mean?
Do things get popular through there? Do like in terms of like, since it's viral, you know, if like a new product came out or some weird cool product came out, would it spread along Pinterest the way it does in Tumblr?
I think it would. I don't know if it would do it in the same way as Tumblr does, but like images that are cool, images that show something unique, like they get spread really fast because sharing is so easy to do on the site. And one of the cool things is it allows you to follow a very topical like interest that you have. Like let's say you're really into photography. As I am. I follow a bunch of different boards that just show portraits, different type of photography equipment, that type of thing. So it's really interesting in that like it kind of helps you stay up to date on those types of interests without any words. Like you're just looking at images. Similar to Instagram. I mean, I just saw... did you watch the recent Founder episode with Kevin Rose? Foundation, sorry. Yeah. And who was he talking to? The founder of Instagram.
Kevin something.
Yeah, so that's right. Sure. And he was talking to the guy who founded Instagram, and really smart guy. And one of the things he was saying about Instagram that I thought was really cool was he's like, it lets you stay up to date on different things. It's not just about sharing photos because you could follow... like one of your favorite manufacturers, like if I followed Nikon, they could take pictures of their events, like at CES.
Backstage.
Yeah, and you could see like backstage stuff. And actually the Cult to Mac team, we started doing this at CES.
Yeah.
And dude, it received a huge response because people love seeing like the behind the scenes stuff. Like we're in press parties, we're like meeting people, like Veronica Belmont standing there. You got Patrick Norton over there. It's like you have all these people around, so like you just take pictures and post them, and people love that kind of thing. So it kind of helps you stay up to date with your favorite brands, and Pinterest is similar in that way.
Okay. So do you think that it's good for a small brand like My Tees? Like would you do it?
Yes, I do it for My Tees.
What would you do with pictures?
I just do pictures, yeah. So every time we come out with a new design, every time we come out with a new shirt, I post it on Pinterest. If we were more active, like if we were doing more events, it would be really good in that regard because I could take pictures of the events and post them to the Might Tees board. And another thing that I really love about Pinterest is the majority of the people who use it are women.
So I heard it described as something like Reddit or something like that for housewives or something like that.
Yeah, and you know, here's the thing about women. Like, go into any mall, any store, most of that store is going to be dedicated to women,
it's
right?
Targeted to women.
Because women buy stuff. So for me, like for my photography business, and
women
for my
be
clothing
shopping.
brand, hell yeah.
For your clothing brand.
Yeah, exactly. So like for me, it makes sense because it gets me the attention of the people that may be buying stuff. Like, guys buy stuff too for me all the time, but a majority of my customers are women.
Because you do clothes.
Because I do clothing. What about you? Do you think a majority of your customers are women?
It's really mixed. It's like,
Is it really?
It's really super mixed, yeah.
Oh, interesting.
But no, that makes a lot of sense. I'm gonna try it out because so it's a website and an app.
They have an iPhone app. I don't think they have an Android app yet.
I had it really confused with Flipboard, I think. So I thought it was a iPad app, and I was like, all right, whatever, because I don't have an iPad.
Right. No, it's an iPhone. It's an iPhone app. They don't have an iPad app
and
yet.
And you can do everything through the website.
You can, yeah.
Okay.
You can do everything. I do pretty much everything through the website, and they have they have a bookmarklet, so they have a bookmark that you can just keep in your bookmarks bar, and every time you find something interesting on a page, you just click it, and it brings up a page of all these different images. It's really smart about the way it knows what's on the page. And then there's like a pin it logo above the image, and then you just click it, and it goes right into your account. You put it into your onto whatever board that you want to put it into. You have to leave a comment.
Okay.
And then you hit submit. It literally takes 2 seconds.
That's really I like that it's a website, because I feel like nowadays everybody's trying to do just mobile, and sometimes I'm like, dude, I really would love to see this large right now, you know?
Me too.
Like, there's some advantages to being able to like manipulate it with your finger, but like a lot of things are just being web only, and I think that especially something that's photographs, it doesn't need to be limited to just your phone.
Totally. And like, I have an iPad
plus Android, blah blah blah, all that mixture. It's like having a site is great.
Yeah, I think so too. And everyone's primarily still using their computers, right? And surfing the internet on your computer is still way easier than doing it on your iPhone.
Yeah,
I think. Yeah,
I think I feel like that way too. But I talk to people that have like an iPod Touch as their main thing. Like,
that's insane to me.
But
I don't think you could be a web power user and do that with a phone. Or
no.
Because like the browser is so limited. It's like you can't extend it. Like, you couldn't have a pin it. Actually, you could have a pin it bookmark if you use Safari on your iPhone.
I don't know.
Pretty sure you could.
But we'll probably talk about this next week, but there is a lot of stuff that you can do just primarily through the browser. And when we were messing around with different video formats, and we're trying to work on a website for the show, I noticed a lot of them would be able to be embedded into iOS, like a lot of the videos that we were doing.
Yeah.
Or the video players that we were doing, which is really cool because, like I said, some people that I talked to from Throwboy, like fans, they legit use their iPod Touch for like just about everything. So, if they come to our show page and it's just like Flash required, it's just like, okay.
Dude, Flash is dying.
Yeah.
It's so on the way out. And I think it's cool too that all these video players are now using HTML5, so you can watch video on your iPad and stuff. Because I'm the same way. Like, you go to like a website, it's like if you see a video there, it's the most annoying thing in the world when you can't play it because it says you need a Flash plugin.
I like it a lot. The fact that I'd rather have stuff like Blip TV or Vidler, where the Flash player play either on the iPad where it plays in the iPad and you don't have to blow it up to full screen, or on the iPhone where it just plays in QuickTime because it's HTML5 wrapped.
Yeah.
And instead of it kicking you over to YouTube.
Yes,
like,
me
I don't like that because
too.
the YouTube app's not even that good. So
it really isn't, and I never use it.
Yeah.
And plus, I don't want to lose my spot on the page. It's like I just want the video to play right where I am.
I'm sure it's way more annoying on the iPad because it kicks you over to the iPad version of YouTube.
Dude, I don't think it does it anymore on my iPad because I cannot remember the last time I used YouTube on my iPad. Like, normally when I hit play, it just plays
just right.
right in the browser.
Never mind, you're right. It does.
So I think maybe it used to kick you over to YouTube.
I don't think so. I think I'm tripping because, like, I remember when I first used iPad 1, I was like, whoa, you can play it right here. Like, they should do that for everything.
Huh. I wonder if the iPhone still does that. Like, I wonder if you hit play on a video, if it kicks you over to YouTube. Because your real estate on your screen is so much smaller on your iPhone, right? So, like, to watch a video that's, like,
true,
like this big, it's like, doesn't really make any sense. I don't even know if your iPhone could do that.
People will never watch a video this big on there. Except like when
this is great.
When we used to have to watch those like QuickTime postage stamp size videos.
Yeah.
Dude, I found this old hard drive and it had tons of like videos that were like 100 megabytes or so, and they were like shows and stuff. And I'm like, why do they look like total shit? Like the encoding back then was so bad. Like it's so funny.
Video has come so long in just like 6 years.
Dude, seriously.
I mean, the fact that
being able to watch high def video on the web is like.
Dude, being able to watch high def video on your phone on a bus on your way home from work is insane. Like, do you guys remember like 5-6 years ago, before the iPhone, like you would have a device that was just like text enabled, right? Remember like the text web?
Oh man, remember those like two-way pagers? You know what I'm
yes,
talking about?
I used to have one of those. Dude, in high school.
Who did you text?
I don't even remember my friends, but no one else had one, right?
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Jeez, I had like one of those alphanumeric pagers, and if you wanted somebody to call you back right away, you dial 911.
Oh,
remember?
Yeah.
So like you text them like your phone number, and then you'd be like 911. And then they'd call you back right away, but it wasn't really an emergency, and they get really super pissed at you because you're like, dude, don't use 911 if it's not really an emergency.
Have different codes and stuff.
Yeah, or if you were mad, you put 187.
What the hell?
Did you ever have a pager?
No, my sister did, but I wanted one. But I'm like 2 years.
Dude.
She's your age, and I'm 2 years younger than you. So I was like, oh, I want a pager, like, cause you'd go to like. Any store and they'd have like all the pagers lined up.
Oh, dude,
it's such a weird concept that the pager was this thing, and all it would do is tell you what number to call, and then you'd have to go track down a phone and call it. That's like the stupidest thing in the world.
Yeah,
and like dial 1-800-collect.
That's right. Who used to do the commercials for those? 1-800-collect. Wasn't there someone really famous that used to do those commercials?
There's like a whole bunch of people.
You know they still sell pagers. Like, I have doctor friends who have to carry a pager.
Really?
Yeah, and for whatever reason, they can't use their phones. They have to carry a pager.
What?
And
but then what do they do? Like, okay, take out their phone.
That's exactly what they do.
What?
Yeah. So hospitals need to like find some way to just text your iPhone directly or something. I don't know why they would why you would need a pager as opposed to just
I wonder if
having your phone.
I wonder if 1-800-collect still exists.
Dude, I bet you it does.
Does anybody remember that? I mean, I think you have to be about in your late 20s or 20s to know what the hell that is. But 1-800.
So on a regular phone before cell phones, if you want to call somebody, you call them collect. And basically that means like the receiver would have the call paid for by them.
Yeah, and it would be like expensive.
It would be super expensive. So by calling 1-800-collect, you could call them collect, but it'd be like a lot less expensive.
Let's try
We just totally dated ourselves.
Thank you for calling 1-800-collect powered by NOS.
By
Now,
what?
we can also assist you in making collect calls to wireless numbers. For rate information, please
Did it say powered by NOS?
Something.
Isn't NOS like an energy drink?
Oh yeah.
I'm pretty sure.
Powered by Four Loko.
Powered by Four Loko. Yeah, they had the NOS grills at PAX.
Yeah, that made
last year.
And small O's.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know if it's that, but maybe we should go to our next story.
Yeah, so let's move on. So if you don't have a Pinterest account, I would recommend that you at least check it out. It's really super easy to sign up for, especially if you use your Facebook account. Sign up. And let us know what you think. Yeah, if you sign up for it, it'll probably be Roberto Hoyos, right?
It might be, or I might do Throwaway.
Oh, okay, that would make more sense. I'm just Erfon, E-R-F-O-N.
Cool.
There are some benefits of having a weird name. I get my name everywhere I go. So, let's move on. Let's talk about Apple.
Okay.
Shall we? So, as everyone knows, Steve Jobs passed away. Was it in October?
October.
Wow. It feels like it's been a lot longer, doesn't it?
Yeah, the web, I think, makes it feel like it's been a long time.
Yeah, it really does. So, Apple is without their iconic leader.
Right.
And there's been a lot of talk about whether the company's going to change, how it's going to change. Of course, I think it's going to change. It can't be the same without Steve Jobs.
Mm-hmm. And even he's famously quoted as saying, "Do not think of like what would Steve do after I'm gone." You know, like because that's what Disney did, and then they just like treaded water for years. You didn't hear about that?
I didn't.
So like he famously in his book told his staff like, do not be like, what would Steve do about everything, you know, even though who knows if they're doing that now. But because Disney did that, like what would Walt do after Walt Disney died? And
It's impossible to
as
know.
we know, they kind of like treaded water for maybe 20 years until about the early 90s when they kind of had their renaissance with like Little Mermaid and all that stuff. So I mean, hopefully we're not going to see a repeat of that because as we know, Apple went down the tubes for a
shader.
really long time.
Yeah.
You know. So what were you gonna say?
Well, so in an effort to kind of keep Steve's spirit alive on Apple at the Apple campus,
Right.
Apple has started posting a bunch of like inspirational posters. I added inspirational. I don't know if these are supposed to be inspirational, but there are photos of Steve from Apple's past, you know, revealing new devices. Really kind of cool, you know, photos from Apple's history. And they've also started posting Steve Jobs quotes. One of them they have a picture of says,
I like that one.
you do like this one? I had to read this a couple times before it made sense. If you do something and it turns out pretty good, then you should go do something else wonderful. Not dwell on it for too long. Just figure out what's next. So they're kind of like keeping Steve Jobs alive at Apple through these, you know, blurbs that are things he has said in the last 20 years, pictures of him. Do you think this is a good idea?
I think it's cool in the way of like that's okay to do for a little while, because I don't think that
Like, you don't think they should keep these up for the next 10 years?
I don't think so. I
Really?
think it's a good thing to kind of keep around for a little while. I don't think it should be a permanent fixture for Apple, because like Steve said, do not, you know, it doesn't need to be like always remembering Steve. Like no matter, you know, you turn the corner and you're like, oh yeah, Steve would do that. It's just like that's too. I don't know. I don't think anything really great can come out of that, because like even if another Steve Jobs existed in Apple or even in the Palo Alto, whatever, even in the Valley, I don't think that he would go work for Apple. You know, like I think that he'd probably start Apple,
His own thing,
you
yeah.
know? So like, I don't think that that's the best idea. I think that I'm hoping maybe the sound of it is what I'm gathering, that it's like a temporary type of thing, like almost in the way of how people would put those notes outside of the Apple stores. I forgot what I was going to say. What do you think?
I like it. I hope they keep them up for a long time. I mean, I definitely don't think that Apple should focus on what would Steve do. There is no one like Steve Jobs. There will never be anyone like Steve Jobs. Steve Jobs is like Abraham Lincoln. He's like Bruce Lee. Yeah. He's like every other, you know, iconic
yeah.
you know, person in history who has nobody else like them.
Right.
But I do think they're inspirational. And for those of us who have a, you know, emotional connection to Steve Jobs, even though we didn't know him, I'm sure there's a lot of Apple employees that have that same connection. And I think it's just good to be reminded of him.
I think
and what he was like.
It depends on who you are. You know, like some people like that. Some people like these constant reminders, like whether it be like a photo on their wall or whatnot. I kind of am not as much like that. And I think Steve wasn't as much like that. But then again, you know what? I take that back a little bit, because Steve, a lot of people know the famous Think Different ads where it had like Gandhi and Miles Davis and like all these famous icons in black and white, and then it said Think Different. That was actually came about because he in his early homes would have those black and white Ansel Adams pictures, not Ansel Adams, but black and white pictures of these icons. So maybe he was sort of like
I think he was kind of like that, you know. He was kind of a romantic in that way, I think. And remember, like in his All Things D, it wasn't an interview when he was on with Bill Gates. Remember?
Sure.
And they were asking him about their relationship together, and Steve Jobs said, "I think of everything in my life as either a Bob Dylan song or a Beatles song."
Yeah.
And I was like, man, that says so much about him. Tell me what you think about this. Whenever I listen to Steve Jobs speak, I'm always struck by how incredibly insightful he was. Like, he would say things, and I was like, whoa, I've never thought about it that way. But not just that, but the way in which he would say things. It's like you would ask him a question about something random, and he had a unique ability to stop and actually disconnect from your question, right? And think about it, and then reply with an intelligent answer.
Yeah, I always loved that about him too. Like I'm not like, I don't know if anyone knows this, but I'm like a really diehard Steve Jobs fan.
You?
Yeah.
No, dude.
But like, I just want to put that out there because obviously I'm saying kind of the contrary when I'm talking about this. But I I mean, like, I goes back to me, like, scrounging up videos on the web of, like, any sort of speech that he ever did.
And that's true. And that's something about Roberto that surprised me, too. Is like, dude, you go out and seek this stuff out. Like, normally, with most people, they just have to find it. It's like, they've seen it on a website, but, like, you'd go looking for it.
Oh, yeah, dude.
Anyway, continue.
I mean, like I said, that hard drive that I found, it was, like, one marked Apple, and it was all these keynotes. And I used to just sit there and watch the keynotes and, like, learn things. Learn about how to present, be inspired, like just the subtle things that he would do on stage were all really calculated, but he was very good at making it kind of seem like it was sort of
totally casual, right? Yeah.
And so yeah, I have like, plenty of Steve books, and I have a Next computer, and like,
dude, that is really cool that you have that.
So yeah, I totally loved that about Steve. You're right, he would not just sort of give back a sort of canned answer. He would actually sit there and think. And if you look on YouTube nowadays, you can find sort of older interviews of him. And one I really like where he's at Next talking about the Next logo, and he does that sort of thing where he's just kind of like thinking about it, and then he gives and like a more insightful answer than maybe a normal CEO. I don't even think of him like that. You know what I mean?
I don't either. Yeah, I mean, he was a CEO, but that's not how I think of Steve Jobs.
Yeah.
Like, he was like just this incredibly insightful, thoughtful, intelligent person who also was a CEO.
Right, and then later became an incredible leader, because he wasn't actually that much of a leader in the early days of Apple. He was just kind of like
a young punk.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
He really was a young punk when he was younger.
Yeah, and so, I don't know, I'm sort of half and half, I guess, now. Now that I've said my thing, I'm sort of half and half about these quotes on the Apple campuses. And I think that I'm thinking of it in terms of what would Steve think about it? And maybe he had a big ego too, but like I don't know if he would want it that way. Because when Steve came back to Apple, Apple had a like what do you call it? They had all of the kind of old Apple stuff laid out, old schematics and old Apple IIs, Apple Is, and all this kind of stuff out in sort of a museum-like area in Apple. And he said, get rid of all that stuff, give it to the Stanford University. We're not looking back, we're looking forward. So that's what I think about that. That's how I think about, putting the old there.
That's an interesting perspective. And the last sentence from this quote was, just figure out what's next. I think that's something I heard recently somebody else say, but it was in a different way, and they weren't talking about Steve Jobs. And that is, just figure out where you are at this point and figure out how to move on. No, I'm sorry. It was in the Foundation episode I watched yesterday. Oh, that Kevin guy, the founder of Instagram, said the exact same thing. He's like, if you make a mistake or something goes wrong, he's like, don't keep thinking about all the things that you've done. Just figure out where you are and figure out where you want to go and how to get there for where you are now. And for some reason, that's a really basic piece of advice. But for some reason, that really struck me. Like, I was like, wow, that's a really good point. Like, who cares about everything that happened? Yeah. Just move on. Figure out how to move on and how to go where you want to go now. Anyway, there's a bunch more of these, and there's a bunch of photos online.
That's cool, though.
Yeah, I really like this a lot.
I hope that they got his real quotes right, because I've been getting really annoyed lately that people are misquoting Steve, obviously being like the Steve head I am. And I'm trying not to sound like a snob, but I'm like, it's not a quote if it's the wrong quote. Or
so they would quote Steve quoting somebody else and then attribute that quote to him, right? Like he's the original quoter.
He famously quoted the Whole Earth catalog, which was like a paper-bound thing that...
It was like a magazine that he loved.
Yeah. And it was... and he quoted, "Stay hungry, stay foolish." And now everybody thinks that's a Steve quote. And I'm like, it's not even a Steve Jobs quote. Or like, somebody else said... what were they saying? It was like the thing from the Bill Gates, Steve Jobs thing. He was like, he was quoting Gil Amelio, the old CEO, saying, Apple is like a boat, or it's like a ship, and it's my job to point it in the right direction. And they all laughed at that quote because they're like, that's stupid. And now people are like quoting that as a Steve Jobs quote. I'm like, that's retarded. Like, why would you even make that a quote? So I'm hopefully they're not misquoting the man here. I don't know. I just got really annoyed at that point. I'm over it now.
I think my favorite Steve Jobs quote was the one that started, "I have a dream."
Yeah.
Remember when he goes into talk about...
That was my quote.
What? That was that? It was yours?
I said it last week.
Okay. He had a dream for his kids that one day they'd grow up without discrimination. It was a really powerful speech. Yeah. Anyway. Shall we move on?
Yes, sir.
We're both really big Apple fans, and I think we're even more than Apple fans, we're Steve Jobs fans. Wouldn't you think that's true?
I do, and I think that's a cool thing in common because I don't know. I feel like some people are really Apple-y, but they're not really they don't care.
Steve Jobs,
yeah,
right?
Maybe they like products, but
yeah. Anyway, final topic for the day.
Yes. This is something I stumbled onto this morning from Twitter.
This is from the oatmeal, which is
the oatmeal.
Tell us about the oatmeal because you know more about it than I do.
The oatmeal is a
the oatmeal.com.
The oatmeal.com is a webcomic started by Matthew Inman.
And he's local to Seattle, right?
He's from Seattle, yeah. I met him at one point at Gnome Decks.
Okay.
So cool guy, and does this really funny comic, which has gotten a lot of notoriety. He's been on talk shows and stuff, and he gets
retweeted all the time.
Yeah,
I always see people retweeting his stuff.
He published a book just recently, and so the Oatmeal is a popular webcomic. Yada yada. He just he just put out a comic today called My Daily Lie, and it's interesting because it's like.
I'm gonna scroll through.
It's a 2-part comic. The top part will say something like, Garrafon, can you read the first panel?
Yeah, so the first one says, hey, are these dishes clean or dirty? And then you scroll down. Then the guy says, clean or dirty, definitely dirty. No effing idea of clean or dirty.
And so he has that kind of troll face, like you've seen on Tumblr and on Reddit and everywhere else, right?
Yeah.
And it's sort of hit Oatmeal style because he sort of has his own style, but then it's also in that kind of troll style that you've seen on the web. And what's interesting, he gives a bunch of different examples, or not examples, but a bunch of different kinds of these comics. One of them is for updates on the Mac, and it says, "Do you want to install this?" And it says, "Not now." And then he clicks "Not now," and then the troll face says, "Not now, not ever." And then so I was like, "Oh, this is funny," And I'm like, "Wow, it really looks like it's something that's already been established almost." But if you go down to the very bottom, he's actually offering. He's saying, hey, you should make your own, and he gives you the original file to make your own, and he's offering a $50 gift card to the Oatmeal shop. So it's kind of interesting how he's trying to create it into its own meme.
Yeah.
I haven't really seen that much of that in a deliberate type of way, but if anyone could do it, I think this guy could, just because of his following is pretty insane. So
that's interesting. When there's a website I go to a lot called quickmeme.com, and it's just people creating memes out of these really popular meme pictures.
And you love all these kind of lol cats.
Oh, dude, I love memes. I love lol cats. I love I Can Ask Cheeseburger. I love all that stuff.
Right.
And it's funny because there's a very particular way you create a meme, right? Like the question or whatever is at the top, and then the joke's at the bottom with the image in the middle.
Yeah.
Right. So. This is a really popular one, quickmeme.com, and you can see they have all those jokes at the top, and I'm looking at this one right here, and it says, not sure if women are getting prettier or if I've just lowered my standards and used his facial expression.
Oh, is that Fry?
On the camera. That's Fry, yeah. So
I love the Fry ones.
I do too, and QuickMeme has tons of them, so if you're into memes and you haven't been to quickmeme.com, you should check it out. But I think for me, one of the things I love about memes is that they're organic and they weren't born of one individual. So I think it's really interesting that he's trying to create a meme out of something that he's doing. But if you ever go and look at Quick Memes, you can tell he's pulling a lot of inspiration from existing memes, right? Like the setups at the very top of the photo, he's using 2 photos instead of 1.
Yeah.
So that's kind of a variation. But on memes, normally the setups at the top, jokes at the bottom, and that's what he's doing in every single one of these.
There's some that are 4 panels.
Oh, they are?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know. I've seen them on Tumblr.
There's one with a brain, and at the top, and this is the brain is always not tricking you into doing things, but causing really bad situations for you. And it said, "Oh, you just brushed your teeth? I'm hungry." I love this website.
So I think that it's funny just by itself, but it'd be interesting to see what actually stems from it.
Yeah, I think it will be. If he could get people to start creating memes, that's the trick, right?
Okay, another place that you see this a lot is Tumblr, right? Mm-hmm. And Tumblr famously goes down, and people go insane because they want to go to their Tumblr. And when Tumblr, he did a webcomic about this is what I think happens when Tumblr goes down, and it was like little monsters like chewing on the servers, and Tumblr actually took that and made that their official down page for a long time.
Did they really?
Yeah. So that's the kind of thing I'm like, well, Oatmeal did it.
Wow. See, but I think the difference between that and what he's doing now is that was unintentional. So it was like, it was organic, right? It's like he wasn't like, hey, I'm going to make this. I'm going to try to get Tumblr to use it. It was like, that's just what happened. Whereas now he's like, hey, here are these memes. You should make memes too. And let's post them on my website. And eventually I'll sell a book with all the memes in it and we'll make money from it, right?
I don't know if he'll do that, but who knows?
Yeah, I don't know. We'll see what happens. It'll be interesting to see. But that's it. That's it for user-friendly episode 2. Thanks for watching.
And you guys can follow me on Twitter. My Twitter is RobertoHoyos, Roberto Hoyos. And you?
You can find me on Twitter as well. I'm at Erfon, E-R-F, like Frank, O-N. E-R-F-O-N. It's amazing to me, like sometimes, I know my name's not standard. I'll go to restaurants, and like they always ask your name, and they're like, what's your name? And I'll be like, it's Erfon, and I'll spell it for them, E-R-F-O-N. And I'm literally watching them,
and they
right?
put Efron.
Or they'll put Efron, or they'll put like E-R-P-H-O-N-E, and it's like, I'm spelling it for you. Like, are you not listening to what I'm saying at all? Like, I'm literally telling you what your hand should be doing on the paper, and you're not doing it. It blows my mind. And it happens all the time.
We both have that. You have it more, I would say, but we both have that problem, because, like, I have to decide if I'm going to go, my name's Roberto, or if my name's Roberto, or whatever, because, like, and then some people are, like, hesitant to even call me by my name because they don't know if I'm going to get mad that they don't say it the right way. I'm like, there's, whatever, I don't care. Like,
but some people really do, like, they want you to, like, pronounce their name in, like,
the
most ethnic, cultural way possible. It's like, hey, what's going on, Ted? Oh, hey, Roberto. Am I supposed to like roll your R? Are you gonna get mad? It's Ted and Roberto Hoyos.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Anywho.
We'll see you guys on the internet. Thanks for watching.
Peace.